Welcome back to the Tech Talks Daily podcast, where every day we dissect the ever-evolving tech scene, showcase industry leaders and rising trends, both from the tech and business world. And I'm your host, bringing you fascinating insights from around the world. And today, we're going to dive deep into the intricate world of data storage with Hugo Bergmann from Seagate. Now, I suspect many of you listening will know Seagate as a global leader in the industry that is at the forefront of this critical technology that is ultimately enabling businesses to manage and utilise their data efficiently. But with the rising cost of data storage hitting businesses hard, to the tune of $233,000 annually for some businesses here in the UK, this is a topic that cannot be overlooked. And I think in this economic climate, enterprises of all sizes must find a balance between cost effectiveness and the vital need for innovative data insights. So Hugo today is going to be joining us to share his expertise and discuss how storage as a service models could be a game changer, potentially allowing companies to better manage their data without risking invaluable innovation. And the conversation promises to be an eye-opener, particularly for business senior leaders who might not yet grasp the magnitude of the looming crisis and why the traditional method of shredding is no longer fit for purpose. So buckle up and hold on tight as I beam your ears all the way to Germany, where Hugo Bergmann is waiting to explore how we can reshape data management for a more sustainable future. So a massive warm welcome to the show, Hugo. Can you tell the listeners a little about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, thanks for having me. So I'm Hugo Bergmann. I'm a product marketing manager at Seagate Technology. And yeah, I'm 48 years old. I'm married. I have 4 adult children. And I'm living in Germany, close to Frankfurt, in a little village. And as for my professional career, I was doing the typical German thing, started with an apprenticeship, learned how to really repair and build computers. And quickly I started focusing on data storage. I moved into different areas of the business and the industry. So I was working at the system house and distribution partners, moved into service, did some consultant work, and ended up in the industry working with a bunch of different storage vendors. And here I held different roles from sales, pre-sales, sales engineering, field application engineering, till I ended up in product management, product line management, and marketing. And that is what I enjoy most. And that's how I ended up at Seagate doing product marketing. I started with the live data solutions portfolio and data services. And now for a couple of months, it's enterprise systems and sustainability.
Well, it's a huge pleasure to have you on the podcast today. And something I try and do every day is getting people thinking a little bit different about technology, brands, businesses, etc. And of course, Seagate has been a global leader for over 40 years now. And I suspect many people listening all around the world will have a different idea of who you are and the kind of problems that you solve for your customers. And I also suspect you will mean so many different things to different generations of your customers. So just to set the scene, what is Seagate in 2023? What's your main focus and what are you doing right now?
Yeah, and as you said, a lot of heritage with Seagate, so 40 years and a lot of different innovations and solutions. And it was always around data storage. And that is, I think, where we all have our own experience with Seagate. I think everybody else really knows Seagate. And we do different type of storages. So we have personalized storage devices. We have our specialized hard drives, for even gaming segment or video surveillance NAS devices, to enterprise systems, enterprise disk drives that are used in cloud data centers at the edge or in your server equipment on-premise data center. So, and if you will, we are focusing, or Seagate is always and was focusing on data storage and hard drives. And that is our core competency. And here we really develop breakthrough technology that allows for a higher areal density on the disk drive itself. But what has changed and most people might not be really familiar with is our Seagate is, let's call it, delivering the data storage to customers, of course, in form of hard drives, but we also have, and that is new or relatively new, we deliver also system solutions. Means if a hard drive is too small, we have bigger systems. You can put several hard drives in and install those systems in a data center of your choice. And what I really like about Seagate is no matter what storage problem or data storage problem you have, either if it's for your personal use, for your professional use, for an enterprise, or as a cloud service provider, Seagate always has a storage solution for you, or will find a solution together.
Certainly love that. And one of the big reasons I invited you on the podcast today was to discuss sustainability in the data storage industry. And I read recently that the vast majority of hard drives in use today are shredded after use. So why is this happening, and what can industry leaders like Seagate do to improve this? Because I know that I've been done a little research on you, that data sanitization and sustainability in data storage is a topic very close to your heart, right?
No, absolutely. And really what we need is circular economy for data storage devices. And that starts with the design of the product, that we can extend the life, reuse the devices, and till the end of life, basically, and the parts and the goods are recycled and reused. So that is what we need. But as you said, it's really true that most of the hard drives and storage devices, so it's not hard drives alone, also SSD devices are shredded today. So we built millions of hard drives and SSDs per year, and an equal amount, a couple 100 million devices are shredded every year. And that is really what needs to stop. But in order to do that, we really need a change of mindset. And I'd like to take the car as an analogy here and to explain the situation. And I'm using a rental car company, and the rental car company is now the data center. The rental car company is buying a new car, right? Yeah. So it's using it for a couple of years. And at the end of the life cycle for them, before they purchase a new car, they are not shredding the car. They are not putting it in an landfill. They recondition it and they resell it so that the car gets, if you will, a second life. And that is what we need to achieve with data centers as well. So most of the hard drives that are in use for a couple of years, they're still good to be used for a couple more years, or could be easily refurbished, reconditioned, that you can enable a second life. But today, it's really shredded, and most of them are physically destroyed. And that is really not in favor of a circular economy for data storage devices. And even the recycling of the shredded material is not the best thing to do. And we can talk about that as well.
Yeah.
And one of the barriers customers have, and mostly it is perception, and also existing policies and maybe even legal reasons why those disk drives are shredded, because nobody really wants data leaking, and information, private information to be shared out. Nobody really wants that. And but shredding isn't really the solution for that, because even the smallest particle on let's say a disk drive or a flash drive holds still some information. So you need to really run it through a proper and good data sanitization process. So basically you need to really make sure that the data is cleaned out of the device. But then it's the question, why do you need to shred it? It would make much more sense to then refurbish, recondition, and reuse those devices. So really that thinking requires that process requires a change of mindset in various phases and stages of the usage of storage devices in a data center. And it starts with just legal policies, government regulations, and also just simple factors like building up trust between customers and the provider. And of course, everybody should be using encryption technologies, to make sure that the data you store and transfer and keep on storage devices or in storage locations and application is encrypted, because that simply reduces the likelihood of encrypting and finding the data when you can make really a connection to the device and to the business and to the customer. So these are all things that need to change and then really enable, or hopefully then enable a sustainable and circular economy for data storage and our data centers.
And I think businesses here in Britain, where you're talking to me from in Germany, and indeed everywhere around the world, they're all facing a lot of challenges around sustainability and ESG scores. But of course, all of these are just small parts of that very big picture. But I suspect many people don't associate data storage when they're trying to become more sustainable. So to try and encourage that mindset change that you were talking about and get businesses to think differently, how does data fit into this? And why do we need to move away from those traditional methods of shredding just to try and encourage that different mindset and behavior change?
Yeah, I mean, that is a very good question. And businesses across the globe are under tremendous pressure these days for cost. Every cost has gone up. Energy, supply, just everything has become much more expensive. And data storage is for sure also a factor they need to consider and factor into their calculations. And there's also a big opportunity, and that is something you should not forget when it comes to data storage and using and activating really the data for the business, because that is where your new efficiency is coming from. So use the data, use it to improve product quality, use it to reduce cost in manufacturing certain goods, use it to optimize your supply chain, use it to optimize your sales channels, etc. So this is all coming from data. And I was recently just in the news, I think it's about a week or 2 weeks ago, I was reading that data has replaced oil as the most important factor for the economy. And that is really what businesses should be using the data in favor of their business, really activate the data. And that will also help for a better and sustainable environment.
A question I've got to ask, I think this is a great moment to introduce Seagate into this. So where does Seagate fit into everything that we're talking about here? What's your big focus now and the years ahead around this?
So very good question. I mean, we want to enable customers not only to store their data, also to activate their data, to use it, no matter where the data is stored. And we want to pick them up and deliver solutions in their entire data journey, no matter if it's at the edge, in the cloud, in data centers, or in a combination of using multiple cloud services, or even just the traditional hybrid cloud architecture. And with that, they really gain a better insights to their data. And what we do in order to support them is also for sustainability. In this case, we really develop breakthrough technologies. So we use really, one of the, most sophisticated nanoscale engineering and material science to really enable new storage technologies. But that is not only happening in our disk drive, also at a systems level, if you will. And just to make one example, I'll give you one example with the Cobalt system we have. It's using storage technology that is built into the system that works together with the disk drives. So the technology is called ADAPT, and in the hard drive, it's called ADR. And this is all managed by a specific and purpose-built controller Seagate developed, and lots of buzzwords and acronyms, of course. But what is now the benefit for the customer, for the user, and also for the environment? And this Cobalt system is basically a solution you install, you keep sitting there, you're running it in your data center. And if there is a problem with a storage device like a hard drive, this device automatically rebuilds the missing data, or basically the hard drive turns off a write read head, a surface of a disk drive, and the controller is automatically rebuilding the missing data or spare capacity that is available on other disk drives in the system. And that keeps the storage product running for years without you having to go there and basically replacing a hard drive, which is the traditional approach of a storage system with RAID technologies. If you have a disk failure, you have no choice. You need to go there with RAID systems. You have to replace it. Means this disk drive is defect and it's going to be shredded and it ends up in landfill. Yeah. And that is what stops with Cobalt, because you keep this device running for years because it can tolerate those, if you will, hard drive failures that happens over the usage period of the, if you will, first life. And then the entire system, after it's basically no longer in use or in good use with data center providers, and you want to upgrade that data center to the latest capacity points to further reduce the energy consumption for the data that is stored in your data center, you just replace it, and then you can refurbish, you can recondition the entire system, including the disk drives, and then in an ideal world, enable a second life of those disk drives and systems in other applications, in other markets we need to develop for those used products.
And if we were to zoom out for a moment, is there anything you think about what steps the data storage industry can take to create a more sustainable data sphere? Because that's where we need to get to. I'm just curious on your thoughts around that too.
Well, absolutely. And that is really where we need the support from everybody, not only the industry. And I was mentioned that earlier on, we really need that change of mindset. And what is most important is we need to stop shredding regular hard drives, solid state drives, storage products. So they need to be put in circulation. And what the industry needs to help with is really here promote that circular economy, and for data storage devices, eliminate also the perception around data security and that data is still recoverable if you have deleted it, which isn't really the case. And there are standards available that are developed already by the couple industry members, and Seagate, for instance, is a founding member of the Circular Drive initiative. And we also help developing data sanitization standards like IEEE 2883, which is a new standard and really the gold standard for data sanitization. And if you run a proper purge according to this standard of your data storage device, there's really no need to shred those devices anymore because the data is securely erased. And there's really no risk to put it in use, refurbish the device, and give it a second life. And in order to give devices a second life and really to develop that trust also with customers, we need grading standards. You also need carbon accounting models to really push and promote the use of refurbished devices. And at the very, very first, before we even think about the entire economy on how to reuse, refurbish, and resell those devices, we also need to design that into the product. Yeah, we need to design that into the storage device itself, that it can have an extended life, that it can be repaired, that components are at the end of the life cycle are easy to recycle and reuse, because shredding is really not a good solution. And just to give you an example here, reusing a hard drive is 275 times more CO2 friendly than recycling. I mean, recycling is good, but with regards to energy consumption and the carbon footprint, it doesn't really make a big difference. The big difference is coming from using the existing devices for longer and enable a second life. And that is even more relevant for flash devices, for SSD devices, where you have a huge carbon footprint built into the device when it is manufactured and built. So that almost linearly increases with every capacity point. And that is the difference between a hard drive where you have a regular or almost a flat CO2 footprint when you build new devices. And that is growing really with SSDs, even though they are knowing for low power consumption when in use, but that carbon is basically built into every new generation that is built and released. And that's why it's so important to keep both disk drives and flash devices as long as possible in use before we eventually then recycle them.
And I think my big takeaway from our conversation today is that shredding is just not the answer. And looking at the entire life cycle of a hard drive here in 2023, and as we progress forward into 2024, it's only, 5 months away at the moment. Is there anything else you'd like to add around the kind of initiatives and measures data storage businesses such as Seagate can do to keep sustainability a key focus throughout and not get distracted?
Yeah, so what is really important, and that's what we did, and I think it's important for every business to have a clear vision on sustainability. And we've announced that, so Seagate announced that with their moonshot goals last year, that by 2030, we want to really power all our manufacturing sites and R&D sites with renewable energies. And we have in total, let me think, we have about 7 manufacturing sites, factories on 3 continents, and a couple more R&D sites where we develop those new technologies. So that is step number 1. And second moonshot goal is really we want to achieve carbon neutrality by 2040. And that is including also the supply of materials and all that stuff. So it's really important that you think about how you use energy more efficient in all stages of the design of the product and the production of the product, that you follow and develop metrics to really measure that. And that is what we do, and regularly also report in our ESG report once a year. And that we really introduce and promote a circular economy initiative. And that's what we started at Seagate. So last year, we refurbished already over 1 million hard disk drives and solid state disk drives, and that avoided already over 540 metric tons of e-waste and landfill. It's a start. There's a much, much longer way to go, but I guess you need to start somewhere and just follow your vision for a circular economy of data storage and more sustainability.
Well, I love chatting with you today. We've talked about a very serious and important topic, but I always like to finish on a light-hearted note and have a little fun with my guests. So I'm going to ask you to look back throughout your career now. Can you share the funniest or most interesting story that has happened to you along the way? I'm sure you've got a few stories under your belt and maybe a few more stories too, but is there anything you can share around that?
Yeah, that is really true. And it's a couple years ago, maybe 15, 20 years ago, and that was really funny. I was a system engineer at this time working with an OEM vendor in the lab and had a tape manufacturer, tape storage manufacturer. And at that time, there were a lot of different tape technologies. 8 millimeter, DLT, LTO was just coming around. And you probably also know that as those tape cartridges or tape drives, they require cleaning. And the technology really didn't work at that time. And we just introduced a new technology, a removable disk system, and it simply worked and never failed, never caused any problems. And I was sitting in the lab was a colleague of that OEM qualification team, and that let's trick our team a little bit. Okay? And at this time, we were also selected as a preferred supplier at this OEM. So we had some visibility even into the executive team. And it was around March timeframe of that year. And we faked simply some Pareto charts, some quality reports, and we came up with a very good story why this removable disk system needs a cleaning cartridge as well. And it was all supported and backed up by quality data, by charts, etc. And we spreaded that rumor that there's something new, a new product that needs to be introduced. And due to the visibility and let's call it the tape crisis that were existing at some customers with aging tape technologies, it was a very sensible subject, okay? And it became visibility to really executive management, and the purchasing director was placing orders for the device. We didn't even have a part number for it or a price, nothing. So everybody went a bit crazy about that. Well, that was March 31st. And throughout April 1st, you know where I'm going. So it was definitely an April Fool. I say after 10, 15 hours, various meetings, they found out, or somebody said, hey guys, this is an April Fool. And that's how we ended up. So we found it very funny, and colleagues with humor as well, but some didn't really like it. I really enjoyed it.
What a great story. And for anyone listening, wanting to find out more information about anything we talked about today, a lot of the serious stuff there, maybe they want to get involved, maybe they want to contact you or your team. What's the best starting point for everything?
The best starting point, really contacting and reaching out to Seagate, is our website, seagate.com. Yeah. And you find us also on social media, LinkedIn, etc.
Awesome. Well, I'll add those links to the show notes so people can find you nice and easy. And before you came on the podcast today, I was reading about here in the UK alone, the rising costs of data storage are becoming unsustainable for 52% of British businesses and IT leaders. And they're also currently forced to spend as much as $231,000 on data storage a year on average, a sum that could be spent on things like training programs, employee welfare, or invested somewhere else in the business. And then we've also got the big sustainability argument, which is increasing in importance. And I know it's a topic close to your heart. So just thank you so much for coming on here, talking about this, and also attempting to change our mindset towards shredding. Again, it's so important. But thanks for sharing that with me today.
Thank you, Neil.
And that's a wrap for another episode of Tech Talks Daily. My sincere thanks to Hugo Bergmann from Seagate for his illuminating insights into the data storage landscape. And I think it's clear that a paradigm shift is necessary to handle data more effectively and sustainably. And we learned today about the urgency to confront the rising costs of data storage, the potential of storage as a service model, and the critical role of sustainability in this sector. And it is an area that a lot of people don't associate that with. So I cannot thank you enough for talking about that and the need for a circular economy in the data storage industry, a change that necessitates how legal policies and a high degree of trust between providers and customers. So as I close the episode today, I hope I've given you a little food for thought and a better understanding of how we can improve our approach to data storage and data management without compromising innovation. I'd love to hear your thoughts as always, so please email me, techblogwriter@outlook.com, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, just @Neil C. Hughes. But that's it from me, so keep exploring, keep innovating, and remember, the future of tech is being written right now, and we're here to help you understand it every day. But thank you for listening as always, and until next time, don't be a stranger.